What's up, everyone, and welcome to Project XTalk, an Xbox podcast episode number 197, presented by Save the Game Media. I'm your host, Kevin, and on today's episode, we're talking about that Star Wars Outlaws. Is Final Fantasy 16 coming to Xbox? And we have all the announcements from this week's Nintendo Direct. But before we get to that and so much more, got to introduce my co-host, who I didn't think was going to be here, but showed up. Jam Pack Sam, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. I'm doing even better because we have Joe with us. So that's always a great addition to any show. But I appreciate Joe being here. We have some family stuff going on the back end. And so I may be touch and go over the next couple of weeks. But in lieu of that, you have people that are much more talented than me joining the show potentially in my stead. So I'm doing great to have to be amongst such great company tonight.
Joe, I don't know if you're muted, but I saw your mouth moving.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, when do you think they're coming on the show?
Well, that
Hopefully
voice,
someone that could use a mute button effectively.
that voice you're hearing is, of course, MrBadBit from the Trophy Room, a PlayStation podcast. Joe, how are you doing, my friend?
I have traveled into enemy territory to speak about the good but not great word of Ubisoft Ubisoft Star Wars Outlaws. I'm excited to be here, though, because it's going to be a fun chat. I love chatting with you boys any chance I can. So, yeah, I can't wait to just hop right into it.
Yeah, absolutely. We will get to that discussion, but before I do that, I gotta get through some housekeeping. So if you're new here, this is Project XTalk. We are live every Thursday right here on youtube.com/Save the Game Media at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. If you can't catch us live, plus every Friday morning on your favorite audio platform of choice. While you're over there, make sure to drop us that 5-star review. Just help us in those algorithms. If you want to support us even further and get early audio access to all of our content and exclusive bonus content, head over to patreon.com/Save the Game Media. Choose the tier that's right for you, like our current Patreon supporters. So thank you to Fabulous Brianna, Brianna's mom, Brianna's brother, Lindsay, Nikolai at Night, Cypher, Primus, Brendan Myers, Marcus O'Neill, Lillian, Mimi J, David Hotwright, Dave Harp, the Xbox Expansion Pass, Alpaca Tom, Lee Navarro, Silkenit, Ellery Woods Parker the Third, Chad, and Shelby Macy. Thank you all for your support. We appreciate each and every one of you. Housekeeping out of the way, guys. I see some good folks hanging out with us here in chat too. Silkenit, Todd Oxtra, what's up, guys? Let's get into what we've been playing for this week. Joe, I want to start with you, except Star Wars. We're going to hold the Star Wars conversation.
All right. Any chance I can, I try to speak about the good word of Whatcha, the game of the year. Whatcha. I am so confident that Whatcha will be the Trophy Room's game of the year this year. And even I'll dare say I think this will be the game of the year in the Keeley show, like just across the board DICE Awards. This is one of the best roguelites. I would say it stands toe-to-toe the likes of Hades.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, Hades has that combat that is just chef's kiss. And when you look at Balatro and on paper, and even as I talk about it, it's a hard sell to say it's a poker roguelite and it's game of the year material, because if you don't like card games, which so many people don't, every time you hear, oh, this game has a card-based system, everybody's like, man, I'm out of here. And if I talk about poker, they're like, I don't know poker. Well, what if I told you that I hate card-based systems in games and I don't know how to play poker, and it is one of my favorite games that I've played in recent years. And honestly, walking out, I still have a vague idea of how poker works, but not a full understanding. Balatro is so much fun. It's all about raking in enough points to beat a boss. Every boss you come up with, there's 3 bosses in each round. They each get incrementally harder, and you have a deck of cards that you get to power up via, special cards that you obtain, or special Joker cards to help multipliers, to just different type of decks that you have to give you the advantage to help complete a run of Balatro. And throughout this whole entire game, you have the game constantly talking trash about you. Every time you lose, it gives you that little,
you suck.
Exactly. Well, better luck next time. Some of that. It is one of those games that I can't help put down, whether I am on my PlayStation Portal, whether I am on just sitting like at work on a lunch break, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, whether I'm sitting at my long chair and I'm just gaming on the big screen, I'm playing Balatro. It is so much fun. It is literally only $15. It's out everywhere. You need to play it. You need to try it because it is unlike anything. And the way that people have like gamed the system, quote unquote, of like showing you their decks that they've made to
Mm-hmm.
help do these impossible multipliers. It's honestly it's so brilliantly designed that I don't know how a single person thought of all this. It's incredible.
Yeah,
Balatro.
it's on my wish list, and I've almost pulled the trigger a few times, especially on Steam, because I know some of those sales where it's like those other third-party websites like Game Billet or whatever. It's like, oh, $11. I was like, $11 sounds pretty good. Like,
Yeah. This is how good it is. I bought the digital version, right? Originally, I gave the code to Kyle. I was like, I'm not gonna play this, whatever. Kyle preached about it. Then I
mhm.
had the ability to get it for like $11, and now I'm literally buying the physical version when it comes out in what's that? Like 2-3 weeks, and it's like $30. So I'm gonna be spending like 40-50 bucks on this game just because I want to support this guy because it's just so brilliant. And yes, Todd Oxtra in the chat. It's coming to mobile, and you bet your butt I'm gonna be there too.
I think mobile might be dangerous for because like I was gonna
Oh
buy
yeah.
it for the ROG Ally, like that's where I was mainly gonna look to play it, but I was like, ooh, there's gonna be a phone version too, and that's like at work, going to the bathroom, it's
Mm-hmm.
chilling.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How long does a round typically take? I mean, is this something that, like, if I'm on the train going into
Right.
work, can I do a run, or is it something that's a little bit more extended?
It depends on how long you last and what difficulty you're on.
So I'll
So
be
you
fine.
can,
Okay.
yeah, exactly. So like it depends. Because each time you beat the final boss of a level, it ups the ante, which ups the stakes.
Mm,
Literally. And so it could take anywhere between literally you could lose in the first round, or you could go all the way to the top and sometimes the run is 10 minutes, sometimes the run's 20 minutes because you're just thinking about where you're going. Because how you build up multipliers is saying, well, and it teaches you this. It's like, if I get a flush, well, I have this multiplier set in because I got these planet cards that help, the multipliers of every type of like card in the game. So I'm going to focus on building my deck around a flush or getting straights or getting pairs or getting the same number of card thrice over. Those strategies and how they play out, it really does depend. So like I've had rounds where they take like 25 minutes, but
mhm.
I'm deep in thought of like, where do I go next or what do I do next, because it likes to throw you curveballs a
Mhm.
lot. So yeah, it's brilliant. You guys need to go buy
Yeah,
it.
but how? What's the achievement trophy list like? Hard?
You do not buy this game for the trophy
Ah,
list.
okay, all
Better
right.
men have tried. I think the folks over at like the achievement guides. I forget what
hmm
the equivalent is.
True
But like
achievements?
they
Is that what that
true
was?
achievements. There you go. Took them 253 hours.
Yeah, no, I ain't got that time.
I'm good.
Yeah,
Thanks.
yeah.
That said, I have 100. I think I'm closing in on 150.
So that platinum's
That's
coming up, yeah.
absolutely not. It's literally so good. I'm not even thinking about the platinum. I do need to get a sympathy plat, symbolic plat, but in
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, of course, of course. Okay, well, that's awesome. I'm looking forward to playing Balatro eventually. I have a bunch of games in the next 2 months, so I will have no time for that. But
Fair enough.
um, Sam, have you played anything other than Star Wars Outlaws? If so,
I was
well,
getting ready
wait.
to say I have been steeped in Star Wars Outlaws. I played through it for my review that dropped on Monday because the embargo came up, and then
Yep.
after the review, contrary to public belief, I went back and continued playing Star Wars Outlaws because I think it's a
What?
good game. I know.
Mm-mm.
So before we get into the conversation, that's the only thing I played this week. I've had a good time this week, and I have also been watching my fiance play Diablo 4 and grind that in between
Nice.
work sessions. So I've been watching Diablo 4 and I've been playing a lot of Outlaws.
Awesome. Well, I've played 2 games this week. I'll start with the one that I have a review coming out tomorrow for this game. Code was provided by Wired Productions for this. So, Gory Cuddly Carnage. This is a game where you play as a cat on a skateboard, and then you cut up unicorns. It's like Tony Hawk meets Devil May Cry. You take your skateboard, you slice unicorns in half. There's other enemies in there too, but man, this is a bloody game. It's you when you look at the trailers, you're like, oh, this is literally just like for violence, like pure unadulterated violence. No. There's actually a pretty heartwarming story built into here through comic pages about the relationship between an owner and a pet, and it's pretty good. I have rolled credits. I really liked the game. Had an absolute blast with it. Took me maybe 6-ish hours. It's like $20. I think it might be cheaper on PlayStation too. I know it was on that PS Plus sale, so not too expensive. But I will have a full review for that. But really enjoyed my time with it.
Very cool. Yeah, right before the show, I think I was on either Threads or something, and I saw a trailer for it, and I was like, "This is the game that Kevin mentioned," and it definitely looks like something that I would just pick up on a whim and be like, "Oh, this is actually a really good time."
Yeah, that's how I would describe it. And I know they have a because Xbox doesn't sell their own special editions. They have a special edition Series X they're giving away that's covered in hair, and I'm just like, I feel like that will overheat personally.
Yeah.
I feel like something's getting fried.
Yeah. Other game I want to talk about that's been taking basically all my time, and like my thumb's kind of hurting. I don't think I'm meant to play on the DualSense this much. Is really what's going on. Concord. All right.
Yeah.
I'm here to tell you, Joe. Maybe you can back me up, but internet, you've been fed a pack of lies. All right. Concord is great. It is not dead on arrival. First of all, I got to bring this up. The amount of people on my timelines just dunking every day, posting player counts, talking about Concord being a failure. I'm like, you haven't even played the game, man. Like, it's so annoying. Like, it'd be one thing if you said, hey, I checked out Concord. Not for me. That's fine. But when you don't play the game and then you trash the game, it just makes me paint you in a really bad light.
Yeah, I mean, and that's we talked a little bit about this on the trophy room, the state of the industry and the state of games coverage. Just the state of conversation is just complete doo-doo caca. Everybody, it's gotten to the point where everybody now knows if it bleeds, it leads. And so, when Paul Tassie's making literally 7 articles about the failures of Concord in the span of 3 days, and you feed into the console war stupid narratives that are out there, we kind of forget that there are people that made this game. And I think throughout all the conversations, we are forgetting to be mindful of it. It's not saying that we ought to be only talking about the positives of Concord. Obviously, it's not on a good path to success, right? And listen, it may very well, it may very well shutter that studio, but we're forgetting that that means people's livelihoods are completely upended. But instead, we're like, ooh, take this, Sony boys. It's the lowest performing game next to Golem or whatever. And same with Redfall, right? We're like, oh, Redfall is trash. There's more people. Again, shout out to Paul Tassi. He's like, more people playing Prey than Redfall at launch. What happened to that studio? People lose their jobs a year later, and then we're all crying, oh, the state of the industry. Everybody's losing their jobs. Oh, shucks. Well, when you constantly make content that undermines them and it's not mindful or actually really thoughtful, that's what happens, right? And listen, games fail. Games come out all the time and they fall on their face, and, there's repercussions to that for sure. But we are forgetting to be mindful when we're talking about these things that there are people behind the screens. And that's what makes me really bummed out. Because not only am I enjoying Concord, but I also know what Concord is. And yeah, I mean, there is a way better chance now today that we don't see this team make another game.
Mm. Yeah, I know I mentioned before we went live, like I just refrained from posting about Concord, like positive or negative, because the game's not perfect. Like it has, I think the grind is probably a bit too much, especially when we're concerned about the longevity. But like gunplay, the team synergy, when you have a team on comms and you're playing together, rolling as a squad, like this is some of the most fun multiplayer I've had in ages. And I
Yeah.
think that is what people like. I'm not here to talk about the business. Well, we do talk about business, but like of Concord, I'm not here to talk about the business side of Concord. Yes, I can objectively say not looking good, but from a gameplay perspective, it's a very good game.
Yeah,
Yes.
well, no, I would agree with that. And I mean, like, I make videos talking about player counts on both ends of the spectrum. And it feels, you feel compelled to whenever there's something that's like Black Myth, where it's like 10 million on Steam, like it's doing something huge.
Yeah.
There's coverage around that. And then when there's something that it's always on one end of the spectrum or another. And whenever I talk about it, I always try to be very like, it's not looking good, because that's like what the factual thing is, where it's like, and again, I always say not looking good on PC, could be bigger on PlayStation. Like you put all these disclaimers around it, but where things go and get out of hand is whenever, Joe, like you were saying, where it becomes a fanboy thing, it becomes a commentary on like, something larger than just, this game needs more players. As a Halo player in the year of our Lord 2024, okay, like, bro, try to get anything other than Team Slayer or whatever's at the top of that list. And like, I get it, you know what I mean? Like, you need more players, but I haven't played it, but I fully believe there's good game there, because everybody that I know and trust and identify with in terms of like what I expect from games and that I can relate to, they say that it's good. And I never want any studio to fail like that. So it's a weird balance of like talking about it because it's in the zeitgeist, but then being respectful of like, this is happening. Make your own observations and choices around how you spend your time and money. And so that's a weird place to be.
The problem with that, Sam, is that there's not enough people like you that are mindful and want to do the balancing act. Because there's people that are mindful of what they're doing, right? There's people like Dreamcast Guy that are grifting. They know what they're doing, but they're going to continue to do it because that's what makes them money, right?
Yep.
So yeah, I feel like there has to be a balance of like, you're right, this is a really low player count. And again, we talked about on the trophy room, it's like, okay, so the question should be, how do we get this player count up? What are the steps that PlayStation can get? What can Sony do? How did we get here? Why do we think it's at this, low bar? And then kind of work from there. It's not like demeaning the team. And you're right too, there's this toxic element where you post something on Concord and like people are calling you shills, or like they're like, oh, the pronouns in this game. It's like, well, okay, if you're upset by a they/them pronoun in the top right corner,
there's one in the whole game. Mostly everyone has pronouns that just match their what they look like anyway.
Need therapy. They just need therapy. It's just, that's what it really comes down to. It's like there's something deeper here that you're upset about that I can't help you with, because that doesn't set me off in the slightest. So it's like you get these weird people that are like, under some odd banners that are trying to point out the flaws of this game, and it's just by, hey, people exist.
Yeah, I had to actively point out the pronouns to my friends because they didn't notice it. Because like, why do you stare off in the top right-hand corner? I'm looking at the characters, looking at the abilities. Like, I'm not.
And again, game's not perfect. Definitely needs some balancing here or there. But like, there is something here.
Yeah, Linux.
That I help me exactly. There is something here that they have that could be a success, but I don't know if PlayStation has the patience to wait that long.
Yeah, I'm worried about that too. So that's why I'm trying to gotta switch characters, gotta get these kills, gotta get this level 10 before I would love this platinum. I don't know if I will actually have the willpower to get the platinum, because that grind to level 100 is intense. I saw world's first person got it, and all he did was go into rivalry and jump off the edge for 100 hours.
Oh, really?
Yep. You get 15,000 XP for rivalry, more than any other game mode. So he just boosted it.
Holy shit.
Yeah, you're racing against the clock right now. It's bringing back the Crash Team Rumble memories of trying to be like, let's get this thing done before we can't.
Yeah, I walked into my office today, and if anyone doesn't know, Sam sent me a Crash Team Rumble poster because he knew I love that game. And I look at it and I go, every live service game I like dies. Battleborn, Crash Team Rumble, Concord.
If I'm ever at a
Yeah.
con and I see a Battleborn poster, I've got to get it and send it to you and be like, we need to have like it's like where you hang the jersey in the rafters whenever they retire. We're just going to have Crash Team Rumble, Concord, Battleborn. We're just going to have a whole line of them eventually.
Yeah, what companies need to do, get me in the play testing. If I like it, change course. All right, early in development. All right, just figure that out. We do have a question regarding Concord from Ghostly March, who wrote in, says, bit of a crossover question. Do you think Sony should consider releasing Concord and future live service games, not just on PC, but also on Xbox, as it'll give them the best chance of finding an audience and to be on a console that hasn't been so single player focused?
Yes.
Yeah,
Simply yes.
That goes for everything. I think I would agree with that across the board. I mean, I think about Helldivers in particular, where it's like, you know, we talk about declining player counts naturally over that, and then some by force through like, you know, bad updates or things that are perceived as bad. But more players is going to inevitably help the game. I talked about Halo last week, where it's like I continued to talk about low player counts on some of the more niche modes. That gets helped by getting more people in the game, and the only place you can now go is to PlayStation, which has millions of people. Let's do it. Let's get these servers popping. And so I feel the same way about Concord.
Yeah. To me, PlayStation, when it comes to their multiplayer offerings, should be putting their games everywhere they can, because you need the masses playing this game in order for them to survive. You do not see, maybe the exception is Sea of Thieves, but that just crossed over. You don't see a whole lot of successful, off the top of my dome, like, you know, exclusive live service games out there. You know, so I think,
I agree.
Yeah, I think putting it out everywhere is the way to go, because what matters the most is you get that pool of gamers into your game and spending money on the ecosystem.
I've asked this a few times. I don't know if I don't remember speaking to you about it, Joe. Do you think they would let Concord die before they put it on Xbox in the current climate, regardless of like what we want to happen? Do you think Sony goes, just call it a wraps instead of trying to give it some life, maybe a Game Pass deal?
Sadly, I don't think there's a lot of time left for Concord. Yeah, rip. I think putting it at $40 was a big mistake. I think when you first showed off the game, when you take a look at the free gunners that you're able to get, it says unlockable there. I think originally this game was supposed to be, my theory is this game was supposed to be free to play at the start. They probably saw Helldivers' success, going, oh wait, no, we could charge for this, and they didn't really understand the climate of the hero shooter right now, which is already one that is debatably at this point, depending on how long, what is it, Deadlock or something? The Steam.
It's like a MOBA though. Like everyone's comparing the two, and I'm like, they're very different games. It's like it's the
like
same
a hybrid of it.
Yeah, I get a little frustrated when I see people are saying like, "Oh, just go play Overwatch." I'm like, this is a very different game to Overwatch.
Very different.
Much like Battleborn was a very different game to Overwatch, but all people saw were the heroes and not the actual gameplay, the style of like this is kind of just an arena shooter, and you play as, instead of just the same characters, you play as individual characters.
Yeah. So, you know, to me it's a little bit, the long and short of it, it's a little bit too late, I think, for Concord. But as I say that, I think there are ways for them to change course. It's just if PlayStation's willing to take those hits to write it out. I think if they're able to write it out, and they see significant growth, there's something there. But right now, it seems like the internet is very much in the camp of like, we want to see fire. And so I don't know. I truly don't.
Well, everyone, go check it out if you got the money to spend, or don't. You know, I'm just telling you my experience. All right, guys, let's jump into the first story for this week, and it's about Star Wars Outlaws because the reviews are out. While Star Wars Outlaws officially releases tomorrow, the reviews dropped on Monday and early access went live Tuesday for those with the $100+ editions. Currently sitting at a 77 on OpenCritic, Star Wars Outlaws has a wide range of reviews. I saw a 3 out of 10 in there, which I was like, that's wild. Is the game broken? But the one I pulled, which I think sums up most of them, is from IGN. Tristan Agalive, I'm not sure how to say your name, apologies, but says, quote, Star Wars Outlaws is a fun intergalactic heist adventure with great exploration, but it's hindered by simple stealth, repetitive combat, and a few too many bugs at launch. So you have both played Star Wars Outlaws. Sam, I want to hear from you first so you guys can have a nice little discussion about it, but have you beat Star Wars Outlaws? How long did it take you?
I did beat Star Wars Outlaws. It took me about between, I think it was like 12 to 15 hours for the main story. And that was like, I started it on Thursday right after the show last week. And then I was like, I had a couple of hours every night to play it. And so I was just mainlining it, going from one thing to another to get the story done, then to go back and do the rest of the exploration. At this point, I think that I have a little over like 20 to 22, 25, somewhere around there. So I've gone back, did some side quests, unlocked some stuff. But I have finished the game 100% as far as the story goes.
Joe, did you wrap it?
I am at the very last level.
Okay.
I have 35 hours in this game.
Oh, okay. So you've been doing the side stuff.
Oh yeah, I got really so for me, I take this route because YouTube isn't my bread and butter. So like I can wait for the podcast for it to come out and that's where we'll talk about it. So I didn't feel as stressed to beat it. But that said, having 35 hours in it, being at the like, all right, we're about to do this portion of the game, I have a lot of thoughts.
Well, let's get into them. So, yeah, Sam, overall thoughts. I obviously watched your review, but for anyone that hasn't checked it out, go to Jam Pack Sam's channel after listening to this podcast, of course. But what do you think of Star Wars Outlaws?
Yeah, so I started off my review by right off the bat, it is a good game. It is not a great game. There is a lot that I love about Star Wars Outlaws. I think that it is right in line with what I had expected it to be. And I mean, take it for what it's worth. Everybody will have a different opinion of this, which I'm sure Joe and I will talk about, and we'll talk about as a group together. But it is Ubisoft Star Wars. That is what this is. And so if you enjoy the consistency of what Ubisoft brings, which are good games that have potential to be great, but that fall short sometimes, it's going to be right in line with that. And so I enjoyed the story. I enjoy the gameplay. Are there basic elements of it that might be a little bit too rudimentary compared to some of the other competition that's on the market right now? Yeah, I get where you're coming from with that. But like, I'm having a good time with it. Even now, I'm going through the map, checking stuff off, going through doing side quests that give just enough of a narrative to kind of keep me engaged. But it's fleshing out this world that, again, it doesn't break any new ground in any kind of significant way, but it does what it does well enough for me to continue playing it after I've finished my review, after I've rolled credits on the story. I'm enjoying my time with it still. And so I think that's good. I ended up giving it a 7.5, and numbers have been a big debate this week. Quite frankly, it's thrown me into an existential crisis over the past couple of days on social media, as I've been berated in the TikTok comments and called a shill and multiple other slurs and random bad things. But nonetheless, we are here. I stand by it, and that's my hot take.
I don't know if it's very hot.
Slurs.
I think yeah. Well,
What slurs is
cracker?
he getting? Exactly.
Whoa. No, but yeah, there have been a lot of accusations that have been levied around various people. I'll tell you right now, I don't know what it's like for the people that gave this game a 9 or a 10, but I'm praying for you because I bet you're really having a rough week this week.
Yeah. It always sucks to be the outlier review, right? Whether it's a game that's like really popular or a game like there's like I saw Kind of Funny gave it a 4, and I was like, 4? Like,
yeah,
gee, like this game works for me. But then you hear people go, oh well, there's a game breaking bug on the first level that you can't do anything, and you lose your save. You have to lose your save, and I'm like, oh okay. Yeah, no, that would piss me off too. Like, I'll be like, that would make me uninstall the game and not play it again. So, okay, fair. And I think a lot of it is, again, people looking to be angry at something. They're bored or sad with themselves. And they look at this going, oh, this is something I can, wag my finger at or whatever. But like as someone who I agree with you, Sam. It's like this is at the end of the day, it feels like an Ubisoft greatest hits, but they're playing the second favorite song of every album.
It's fair.
Um, where it's like, yeah, no, there's Watchdog elements, there are Splinter Cell elements, there are Assassin's Creed elements to this game. It's very much a stealth based game at its heart. I feel like it wants to be that. And I think when the combat is able to speak for itself, and when it gets to succeed at that, it does it a well job at it. It's never great. It never feels really, really great. It feels fun at times, absolutely. It's not like I'm like, ugh, here's a stealth mission. It's just there's inconsistencies to the stuff. The AI are very dumb, or they're the most brilliant, like Sherlock Holmes of their time. They either have like tunnel vision, or they have eyes at the back of their head. There's just a lot of inconsistencies when it comes to stealth and combat. Never does it get in the way, so much so that I go, oh, this sucks. I'm not going to play. This is awful. It's never awful. It's either at worst mediocre, and at best very good. And I can see what they're doing here, and I'd like to see it more in a sequel. When it comes to the narrative, and Sam, I want to, again, this comes from someone who's at the end, just have not rolled credits yet, because I like to be the person that gets all the things just in case. All the characters you meet are okay.
Yep.
For the most, there's a lot of promise to like ND1, right? I just call him Andy. But like none of them really speak to you. They're no one is as memorable as Nyx. Nyx is the best character in that game.
100%.
Even Kay. There's moments where I'm like, oh, this could be real. She can be a great Star Wars character. But there are just times where I'm like, I don't believe you're believing you're saying these words, right? And so there are times where like the characters, they're solid, they don't jump out of the paper to me. Again, except for Nyx, who is a wonderful companion. Wonderful. I'm talking this. Nyx will be up there. We need to protect Nyx at all costs. I want a plushie of Nyx. Like, you can merchandise this little guy.
Yeah.
But like the story to me is serviceable. It's not the greatest story you're gonna get. Definitely not out of Star Wars. But even saying that, it's still pretty damn good. Like for a Star Wars video game, I feel like we have blinders on. I get it. Star Wars Survivor and Fallen Order are incredible, but up until that point, Star Wars stories are not that great. So like to me, I'm like, yeah, no, this is a valiant attempt. It makes you feel like you are a smuggler. It makes you feel like you are a scoundrel. You're constantly getting betrayed. Where I feel like every time I like, because you're like, it's either you're doing the betraying or someone's betraying you, and I always feel like the Arrested Development, where like Gene Parmesan like pulls out the mask, and I'm like, Gene, like I'm always surprised somehow. So like they get that element down. It's just the story itself is just not. It just doesn't speak to me.
Yeah. I would probably agree with that. I think that for me, it has enough twist to where it's beyond average. There are things that happen that I thought it was going to go one direction and it went another, which is something that I appreciated because I assumed that it was going to go the easy route and kind of hit the standard tropes. I think that what takes me out of it, and I mentioned this whenever I did my review as well, is that the cinematics in this game, in particularly on consoles, they are in-engine cinematics. And then there are some that are better than others that are actually like pre-rendered videos. And so in the ones that are in-engine, it's like you're zooming in on the Ubisoft characters that you're playing as in the game. And so it doesn't have that same emotion. Like the faces and the eyes are lacking depth that convey how a character is feeling in a moment, or whenever a line that's supposed to be really impactful is getting received or something tense is happening, you can't really feel it in the way that you should. And so when I went into this, I was trying to judge it at face value because I feel like comparing any game to another game is inevitable, but I always try to make a valiant attempt to like look at what I'm looking at for face value. Like, what is this game, without looking at external factors, bringing to the table? So I did that. But then you can't help but compare it to Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Like that's just how people are. That's what the industry is going to do, and the internet is going to do as well. And so the facial capture, the acting for Cal Kestis, who I forget, the name of the actor slips my mind.
Yeah, same.
But
let me look it up while you're talking.
Yeah, I was gonna say look up the name of the actor, but very famous. Yeah, very famous actor for Cal Kestis, but Cal has gotten to the point where they're talking about like cameos and other Star Wars media. He is now part of the Star Wars lore and the world and the universe. Like he's a beloved character. And that's because of the acting, and that's because of the tech that EA brought to the table and Respawn brought to the table with Survivor. And unfortunately, it's Ubisoft doing Ubisoft things, and it's like, fine, it gets the job done. You've got cutscenes that deliver the story, but they aren't taking that further step into greatness that's going to like solidify this as something that people look to and want Cave S in the next season of whatever the newest Star Wars thing is. So I would agree, Joe, that it's like the story is fine. It does some things better than I thought that it would, but again, it's right there with the expectation of like a Ubisoft 7, and I wish that it was better than it was, but I'm also not mad that it gets the job done. Like I'm fine on the game. That's kind of where I'm at with it. It does everything fine.
Yeah, it does everything. It does everything. Like again, it goes from like mediocre. Like the facial capture is like, okay, you've played an Ubisoft game. You can kind of get the idea. Or then like I feel like what Ubisoft's strength is in it, or its weakness in its facial capture. Or its mocap is done wonders by, all right, I remember why Ubisoft's tasked with this open world, because they are the ones that build, and I always forget the 16th chapel or whatever in France. Like they did such a faithful recreation of that chapel that literally when it burnt down, the French government went to Ubisoft going, hey, can you get the schematics to this, because this is the most accurate it's ever been, and we need to rebuild it. They did the same with Star Wars. Like if you're a big Star Wars fan like myself, you're going into Mos Eisley and you know exactly the points where they took from the original movie in the 70s to the special editions in the 90s to like the weird alleyways in Battlefront games to like the scrap alley in the prequels. Like and it doesn't feel like it's a roller coaster. Each city feels like, holy this is it. This is Mos Eisley. Right? It doesn't feel like a greatest hits album. It feels like whether you are a newcomer to Star Wars, this feels like a lived-in universe. If you're a casual fan, you're getting the obvious references, and if you're a hardcore fan like me, you hear Hangar 94 and you're like, are we going there? Oh, holy shit, we're going there. And it's like, it's those little references that it's like, oh wow, they really took the time with the world. And again, especially the city portions where like I give them huge kudos, because to me this is one of the best games I've experienced where you're in a city and it actually feels like a city. It actually it feels like it exists with or without you present in that city, and there's not many games that do that for me, and especially as a Star Wars fan. Notre Dame, thank you, Silcanet. I'm gonna forget it again when I talk to Ains, so make sure you're in the chat there. So like, it's the things outside of it, the world building that they do here is incredible, and that's where I feel like the one thing that they nail great, and probably the only thing they nailed great, is the world itself is like unabashedly it's Star Wars. It is just the most authentic we've gotten in a game.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that, again, going back to the graphics of it, I think you can nitpick the details. And one thing I called out in my video is like, if you really want to go around and look at faces in the crowds, and like whenever they're sitting there chatting, like random NPCs that are there, you can pick them out, and they are Ubisoft NPCs where they're like, kind of smooth, little yogurty looking face to them. But like, if you are just there to enjoy the world, be in it, walk past them, and just feel like it's a live city, it gets the job done. So like, you can get into the nitty gritty as much as you want. The thing that impresses me the most is whenever I'm on my speeder going through this giant desert, plain, and you see like literally, rolling waves across this giant field of wheat, 2 planets that are up in the sky, beautiful skyboxes. Lighting is really good in this game as well. I'll call that out. Now the hair, debatable, but like the shadows, they do a really good job of whenever you're in the moment and you allow yourself to be in the moment. It really does feel like you are on a speeder going down this giant valley with these huge scapes. If you're in the Trailblazer landing on a planet, the look of space, like the way they nail scale in this game, I think is really impressive as well. Like you feel like you're in that moment, and it's really good.
They do a really good job too when you're like infiltrating a base. The base looks massive.
It does.
In scale
Yes.
to what you're. So it's like, look at this this huge task in front of you. And I think the other thing that this game doesn't get enough credit on as well, and I think it's just because of the wonky AI, is a simple fact of like when you're doing those missions, you have a lot of options. I wouldn't say limitless, right? Like you have a fortress in front of you. You have 5 different ways to approach that fortress. You have, multiple different ways of like how to go through these patrols. There was one where it's like, get this key card in the dead center of this like fortress. And I was able to only just knock out 3 dudes and get the key card and get out of there. There are other times where I'm in I'll say the mainframe, and then I alert the guards on because I done guffed, and then I'm fighting my way through the fortress. Like the one thing that they do, they do well here, and I hope if they're given an extra chance, I think they could do really great here, is that, and I think it's probably one of the mistakes of how they present this game, is the simple fact that this is a stealth game first, but it's supposed to give you that like Han Solo vibe of like when he's in the Death Star and like he's trying to blend in as a stormtrooper, and then he ultimately F's up. He's like boring conversation anyway. It's supposed to give you that. It's like, oh, it's a stealth game until it's not. And I think some people were like, no, this is just an action game. But I'm like, no, you're a scoundrel. You're a smuggler. What do smugglers do? They sneak.
Yep.
So for me, I knew what game I was getting into, and I think some of the reviewers didn't speak to that, but again, I don't want to get into that. I think it does a fine job to very good job at it. I think that if they just handled ability points better, because you get more abilities by speaking to different contracts out in the world. If you don't speak to those contracts, you don't get those abilities. And very early on, you're very neutered in terms of what you're able to do. So I feel like, if you didn't get the one ability, or you didn't find the one person that gives you the ability of like Nick's detonating bombs on people, which is one of my favorite things ever. It's like, oh, that sucks. Right? Like that. I wish that was there for you, because it's a really useful technique. There's one where Nick jumps on a guy just because you fed Nick a special food. He's able to jump on a guy that like, it's called Cause Havoc, where he jumps on his face and it causes a stormtrooper to just start shooting around blindly and like hitting his own guys by accident. Like there's a lot of fun things here. It's just presented to you in the mid to late game, or just depending on when you discovered them.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I was saying earlier, I mainlined the game so that I could see how the story ends, so that I can judge the story for the review. And I unlocked a couple of things along the way because, as part of a review responsibility, you see what the world has to offer. Like you're not just mainlining the game. But now that I'm going back, I've gotten a more efficient like taser stick that I can go up and I can stun more powerful enemies that I had to just kind of like beefcake up and take him head on in the middle of the game because like I didn't have what I needed. So I wish they had done that in a little bit more of a deliberate way to where I feel more prepared through the game. But I think they're meant to do what you're doing, where you're exploring the game, you're taking your time with it in a way that I honestly don't think a lot of people will. I mean, like even when I was reviewing the game, you can see on the Xbox achievements when they pop how the percentage of people playing the game who's gotten it, because they're all rare achievements at the beginning, and it's like stuff that's relatively basic. It's like 0.01% of players have accomplished this. And I'm like, I feel like it should be higher even now. It just feels like they aren't they are building this game for the Star Wars fans that are going to go explore in this world, and it's not necessarily going to be the best experience for the people that are there to just get in, get out, 10, 12 hours, get it done. Because there's a lot of meat here that I think that that it will be easy for people to overlook if they go in without the expectation to spend some time there and steep yourself in it.
Yeah.
Man, I love hearing you guys talk about video games. I love it. I love hearing people talk about things that they enjoy. You know, that's what I'm
Well, I
about.
do recommend this game. I wouldn't recommend the early access. I would never recommend early access to anybody,
Especially now.
because you
Comes
are.
out tomorrow.
I mean, yeah, but like the $100 version, no, don't do that.
Yeah.
And if you're like, well, you're telling me there's some bugs here, wait a week or two. It's an Ubisoft game. It drops in price. But
Yep.
like, this is a game I definitely recommend. And I feel like we need to normalize it. I hate giving this son of a gun. I don't know if I could cuss credit here, but like, you know what Luke Lore of the XEP says all the time. It's like swimming in sevens, right? Sevens are
where I
worth
live.
playing, right? Yeah, it's where many of us live. Embrace it. Not every game needs to be your game of the year when you play it. And that's the thing that aggravates me to no end. It's like, but is this game like the best game I've ever played? If it's not, then I don't care. It's like, no, expand your horizons a little bit. This game is worth playing. It is worth giving it a chance. Whether you're waiting or not, I think I'd recommend it.
Yeah. I'm very much in the waiting camp, and that's where I've been planted. I know when Sam did his preview event and came back, we talked about it and how it was much more stealth focused, and that's backed up by what you guys are saying right now. Like, that actually made me more excited to play the game because, like, oh, a stealth game, like, that's not what I expected. I think that's more interesting than just like, oh, you're gonna just run in guns blazing all the time. Like, that intrigues me a lot more. That said, I'm like, I'll just wait until Black Friday when it's like $20 and just grab it then.
Fair, yeah.
Yeah, it's super fair assessment. The thing that I'll say is that, like, if I had to rate, this on that kind of scale, I would say like this is a very fine wait for a sale, but I would say this is not like if it were me in the shoes of somebody that was going out and buying the game, which of course my code was provided by Ubisoft, thank you guys for that. But this is one that I'd be like $50, all right, I'm in, versus a $10 3 years later kind of Ubisoft sale. Because I do think that it's worth it. I think that it's worth your time there. And the recommendation that I would give is to like let yourself enjoy it. Go into it, and kind of like the suspension of disbelief is going to do wonders in this game. Not that you should look past flaws, because I think that flaws are always worth acknowledging, and it makes games better when we're able to have these candid conversations about the quality of a game. But when you're in the middle of a blaster fight with a whole hall full of stormtroopers and you're trying to fight your way through and you're using nicks to trigger explosives and stuff, let yourself enjoy that. Like, be in that experience, because when you do that, you're able to find a ton of fun in this experience that if you're nitpicking it, you can find 10 different things that could have been done better. But if you're in the moment and you're doing stuff that's fun, just have fun with it, because there's a lot to be had within Star Wars Outlaws.
Yeah, 100%. And I would say this. I'll cap it off with this one thing. There was a point in time where I was doing this mission. I was doing really well until the very end, and I triggered the alarm, and I triggered the massive wanted, by the Imperials, like at the highest level. And I hopped in my spirit, and they're like, listen, you got two options. You could try to bribe your way out of it. I'm like, I have no idea how to do that. Or you could go and fight some death troopers. You can make your stand there and wipe your debts clean that way. And I just, again, it was one of the coolest fights I've ever had, because I was utilizing the skills that I had at that time to fight what are the hardest enemies in the game, and just being able to see how Ubisoft paid homage to them, because they're an awesome addition to Star Wars, whether it's how they talked, whether it's picking up their blasters, how they shot, how they sounded, and just taking them out gave me that sense of accomplishment where I'm like, at that point, I was like, there's nothing you can say to make me hate this game. It's fun. I'm having fun. Yeah.
And that's what games are all about, people. Silkin It says, wait for a sale and buy Crypt Custodian instead.
Kyle's been preaching about it. I'm kind of interested. $15? Okay.
Getting good reviews.
I just might.
Let's go on to story number 2. Is Final Fantasy VII Remake and 16 finally coming to Xbox? According to Jez Corden of Windows Central, speaking on his Xbox 2 podcast, Jez states he's hearing that Final Fantasy 16 and potentially 7 Remake are going to be announced for Xbox at the Tokyo Game Show at the end of September. This comes off the back of Final Fantasy 14 and 16 director Yoshi P stating to Eurogamer, quote, "So with Final Fantasy 14 as a starting point, we do want to release more Square Enix games on Xbox, and there will be more of our titles released on Xbox. So I hope players will look forward to future things that come on the platform." Sam, this is right up your alley. Final Fantasy potentially coming, Tokyo Game Show. Is now the time?
I mean, to address the up my alley thing, Final Fantasy 16. I don't know what's going on there, but that gameplay looks pretty fun. So like, I'm kind of
you would
down
like
for
it.
that.
I think it's like
Yeah.
that's an action game, so
Yeah.
like you'd be cool with that one.
Yeah, I think I would have a good time with it. And what I was googling is Final Fantasy VII Remake release date, which released in 2020. Just to put that into perspective, I had just graduated college, had my first apartment, and was like literally just starting life. I'm now 3 jobs later, engaged, and have an Xbox Series X. Okay, like we are in a totally different console generation. I'm glad to see it finally happening. Do we really need it this late? Like, honestly, do we need that? Unless there's like part 2 that's on the way as well, which I would assume is going to be the case. So this is one where I might check out 16 if it ends up coming. But I'm more than anything, I'm happy to see more options for more people on how they experience Final Fantasy, because that fan base is obviously more than just PlayStation on that side. It's everywhere, including Switch and Xbox and PC and all of that. So fair treatment across the board, getting more games in more places. There's never a bad way to do that.
Joe, how would you feel about Final? Yeah, you got the controller.
Ooh.
Not my favorite controller that they've put out personally.
Kyle doesn't have it. I do.
That's
Maybe
I
I'm
did
a
hear.
better Final Fantasy fan.
Yeah, it's no Astrobot controller. All right, it's no Astrobot controller.
I can't wait, dude. I really can't wait. I'm just
Yeah.
for it.
Final Fantasy coming to Xbox.
Yeah.
What are you thinking? Is now the time? Is the we've been hearing Square and Xbox getting cozy again, and then nothing happens.
Yeah, man. I mean, manage expectations. I think it's time though. I thought we were gonna see 16 at Gamescom. 7 Remake is, come on, it's about time, and hopefully that launches into Game Pass too, right? Both those games are great. I like 7 Remake. It's probably the only Final Fantasy game, as I hold the controller, probably the only Final Fantasy game I'll ever beat. But you know, I very much enjoyed Final Fantasy 16. I just don't know what the hell happened that got me to drop my controller. I truly don't know. And so, you know, to me, it's like that is a game that's on my pile of shame that I know I need to get back to, because I was really enjoying what was had. And, you know, for me, I'm the type of guy where it's like, listen, Final Fantasy, yes, I know it as a PlayStation property.
Mm-hmm.
That, I mean, you know, that the lineage is, you know, it being revived on the PlayStation 1. That being said, though, it's a property that's been everywhere, and to me should be everywhere because of it. So for Final Fantasy to be skipping Xbox for the longest time, I truly wonder what that case was, as to why Square Enix did that exclusive deal with Sony for so long and Nintendo for so long. It's really bewildering, but I'm really happy to see it come back and return to Xbox if these rumors are indeed true. No one loses anything. In fact, more people just get to play the game that we enjoy. And in truth, I think Final Fantasy needs Xbox more than Xbox needs Final Fantasy at this point.
I always wonder, like, there's a group of people that get excited when JRPGs come to Xbox, and we'll talk a little more about that with the Nintendo Direct story coming up, and I fall into that category. But I do have a PlayStation mainly to play like JRPGs that are exclusive to that platform that I can't get elsewhere, and Final Fantasy has been falling into that category. I'm not the biggest 16 fan. I beat it. I liked it enough. I know Ghostly Guides right here in the chat. They can keep 16. So 16 isn't universally loved. I think even Final Fantasy VII Remake, not universally loved. I know plenty of people who aren't a fan of the story changes based on playing the original game, and that goes into a whole different conversation. But like, I think just having these games on the platform available is important for optics, for the player base, no matter how small. I like porting games, and I'm not a game developer, so if someone wants to tell me I'm wrong, but like porting games, right, isn't nearly as expensive as just making the game. So,
Right.
like, I'd like to think that this isn't that big of an ask.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, I think this was more of a Sony paid for the exclusive rights rather than like, oh, we're really having trouble coding for Xbox. This was something that's definitely, a situation where PlayStation's like, hey, we'd like people to really know Final Fantasy as PlayStation. How much is it going to take for that to happen?
I want everyone to know a game called Triangle Strategy that came out on the Switch a few years ago and is phenomenal. Might be one of the best Square games that they've put out in recent years. But nobody knows about it because it's on the Switch.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's fair.
nobody plays that stinky console. I know millions of people play it, but whatever.
I think the only thing that I'm worried about with this potential strategy change is that everybody's built this up over time. It's like, when's Final Fantasy coming to Xbox? When's it finally happening? And so here we are, coming up on the fifth anniversary of the game coming out, which would make sense if there's like a round number for a contract for exclusivity. It might be a 5-year contract. I don't know. But it comes out, sells 20,000 copies, and then it's like, you've waited to the point of irrelevance for it to finally come, and then Square uses that as an example to turn around and be like, well, we're not going to waste time porting stuff to Xbox anymore because Xbox players don't buy games. And it's like, well, if you did it maybe like 6 to 12 months after the game came out, maybe then there might be a little bit more of an incentive to go out and buy those.
Which is why I think 16 would be the better touching point, because that just came out. Like it's coming to PC. Is it out on PC yet? I think next month it's coming to PC, if I remember correctly. So like I think that's a better touching point if 16 was to come across. But it's funny you went there, Sam, because I'm sitting there. Yeah, I'm gonna see nothing on my timeline except, oh my god, they're doing it. Finally, Square's bringing them over, and then it's gonna not be anywhere in like the top 50 best-selling games. And then I'm like, well, y'all just talk. Y'all ask for the games, and then nobody plays them. Same with Persona. Same thing happened with Persona. Y'all wanted Persona 5. Nobody played the damn thing.
Yep. Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to our final story for the day. Nintendo had 2 directs this week. They had an indie showcase and a partner showcase double feature. We're not going to go over everything because that has nothing to do with us, but some of the announcements are indeed coming to Xbox, so I have those if you're curious. Starting off, Balatro Friends of Jimbo update is available now and adds some new cards from games like The Witcher 3, Dave the Diver, Vampire Survivors, and Among Us.
God bless.
Very exciting there for anyone, as Joe went on about Balatro. So
I was gonna say, Joe, have you seen these cards yet, or are they not in the game yet?
I have not played yet, so I wonder how these decks work. I wonder if if we only see these certain Joker cards in the decks that we choose, or are they going to be in the main game as well? Gets me curious. But that was probably the biggest pop in this whole presentation for me.
I love crossovers like this. Like, I haven't played Balatro. Like, it's I'll get to it, kind of like Kevin said, when we get to it. But to see, like, to know these indie devs know each other on the level of like,
it's
they're
cool,
talking,
isn't it?
Like, it's just a cool idea. It's kind of like the Jimmy Neutron Fairly Odd Parents crossover episode where it's like, you got Among Us in my Dave the Diver, and then they're going like, it's just a neat concept. I love that idea.
Silkina says these are not decks; they are card cosmetics.
Oh,
okay, all right.
Still
I'll take a gander.
Next up, Neva from the creators of Gree arrives October 15th to Xbox. This is one of those games I like to call artsy, and isn't for me, unfortunately. But I know everyone loves the Gree game. Either of you interested?
This is gonna be very hard for me as someone who lost their doggo a year ago. Just celebrated the Remembrance Day of him, though he officially passes oddly enough in October. But yeah, no, it looks beautiful. I am very interested in it. I liked Gree a lot, but I'll see. I'll see if I'm emotionally prepared.
Yeah. I go through waves of these artistic games like this. Like I'll just randomly pick one up and it'll be like, super emotional story that I absolutely resonate with. And then I go back to like grinding COD or something. Like I just go like it just hits me all of a sudden. So this will probably get thrown on the back burner for a while, but I'm glad that it exists. Gree is one of the more beautiful indie games, even though it's got some age on it. I love the art style. So I'm definitely interested to learn more.
Oh yeah, this is a beautiful looking game. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Like I said, I have no doubt this game is going to come out and do very well. So, Coffee Talk Tokyo, the new installment in this hit indie series, arrives in 2025 on Xbox. Shout out to my former Project XTalk co-host Ethan. Loved Coffee Talk, one of his favorite series. So I know he's excited. This is not one for me. I don't. Again, barista simulator, just dialogue trees. I'm sure it's a great game if you're into that, but not for me.
I think both of the games are on Game Pass, right?
I think at least one of them is.
Yeah, I know the more recent one got added. I think the original one was and may have been removed, but I know there's some Game Pass. There's some Game Pass mixed in there as well. If you guys are interested in trying out Coffee Talk.
I had a pumpkin spice latte today. It's the first one of the season. I think
How was it?
Important to know. Oh, it's wonderful. It's a delight. It's a little treat,
Very nice.
Beautiful.
When I worked at Starbucks, there was somebody that would come in and they were like, pumpkin spice latte, 10 pumps. And I was like, you sure about that? Like,
And
how much is a usual pumpkin spice? Like,
I believe that if you get like a grande, I want to say it's either I think it's three pumps. So they were like venti with 10 pumps, and I'm just like, all right, early death, I guess. Whatever.
You're like, yeah, but how much pumpkin spice you want though?
Yeah, like, enjoy. I while you last, I guess. Have a good time.
Insulin on you?
They need to. That was interesting. Is this Coffee Talk? Are we having Coffee Talk right now?
I mean,
I think so. I think we're playing the game by just experiencing it ourselves.
Very nice. I like it.
Game.
10 out of 10. Game of the year.
Sea of Stars, Throes of the Watchmaker, free DLC coming spring 2025. Love Sea of Stars, one of my games of the year. I really enjoyed this one. I don't know if I needed a DLC for it. I think I was like good. I kind of felt it got a little long in the tooth as it was. So I don't know if I'll go back. I appreciate that it's free, but maybe a little too late for me. Like a lot of DLCs are a little too late for me.
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
I never
enjoyed
played
the game fine, but I'm usually like, your game has to be spectacular for me to go back to the DLC.
Same.
And especially this late, especially holiday seasons, like it's no can do, bud.
Yeah, this game, I like I said, I never played it because it came out. It was like Sea of Stars, Starfield, and it was like back to back. And then Starfield dropped, and my fiance was playing Sea of Stars, and I was playing Starfield, and we share one Xbox. And so like she finished the whole game, so she might go back and play it. I might go back and play it for the first time, especially if it's free. I might see what's up with that. I also know probably not my game, but like I'll give it a shot. Why not?
Yeah, I remember there was like a week, if that, between those two release dates, and I just like pedal to the metal. It's like I gotta finish Sea of Stars before Starfield comes out. Otherwise, I'm never gonna.
Never gonna go back. I remember that race.
Ooh, shout out Sean Capri from Carpool
Hey,
Gaming.
Sean, what's up? What's
Don't
up?
let anyone on this show, huh? Wow.
Look at this guy. Look at this guy.
You offering to be a guest? What's going on, Sean?
Did he kill the Capri Sun? I just saw.
Dude, I just saw that on Twitter.
I'm gonna shove a straw directly through whoever killed the Capri Sun, front to back, like the old days.
We really need to find the person responsible, and really, I feel like we have an obligation. If y'all don't know, they're getting rid of the pouches for bottles. What the hell? We have an obligation to stop this. Okay, we were too late with Snapple when they went to this plastic bottle. They switched from glass. There's still time now. Okay, Snapple's ruined. You don't get the snap when you open the cap anymore. Okay, they took that from us. Corporate greed took that from us. Okay, we need to take back Capri Suns.
I just want to bring back the early 2000s ad was literally respect the pouch, respect it. And so it's like we've drifted. So we used to be a country, a proper country. And here you have Capri Sun coming in plastic bottles, I think. I
assume so. You know what it is? The younger generation, they're just too soft for it. Like, if they take the straw and accidentally go through both layers, they're just probably going to cry. Like, they couldn't handle it.
TikTok dance about it, and it's going to be a sad one.
they're going to sit there and suck air through the straw and be like, why isn't it working? That's what the young people do these days. I can't believe the state of this world. It's just, I
It
can't
is
believe
literally what I tweeted. I tweeted, "We used to be a proper country." On the bottle. Like this is, and it's disgusting. It's not even a decent bottle. It's just a bland everyday. It's just a bottle. No,
Yeah.
what makes Capri Sun is the gosh darn pouch.
Yep.
Imbeciles over there. Imbeciles. When they see the sales tank because we're boycotting Capri Suns until they fix this, nobody's going to learn their lesson.
This is our Bud Light.
Yep.
This is our Bud Light.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
I hope everyone got that reference. All right.
I did.
I know you guys did. I bet the audience hope you get. All right. Continuing on. Cooking meets dungeon crawling when Cuisiner hits Xbox January 28th, 2025.
Happy for you guys.
They're just making games. You know?
Enjoy.
They just throw things together at this point. I don't know. Speaking of that, Date Everything comes to Xbox October 24th, 2024. Again, we used to be a proper country. Now we're just dating our lamps. We're dating our clothes hangers. Anything you can find around the house.
This is how you know, like, this is how when I see a game like this, I'm like, hey, I'm getting too old. This makes no sense to me, and I'm getting offended for literally no reason. But I do have the best tweet, I feel like, about this. I said, Date Everything is about a game all about dating household items. I bet JD Vance is going to buy this game for quote-unquote opposition research. He's going to try to fuck the couch.
Yep.
I'm sorry, I had to leave the F in there.
Yeah, we'll let it go. I'll just mark it as explicit. It's all good.
All right, fair enough.
Before we move on, I didn't catch this. Sean said now Capri Sun is ribbed for her pleasure.
Oh, God.
Damn.
That's killer.
The Date Everything game, I'm like, okay. It's weird that you got this much funding for what essentially is a meme game.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, then there has to be something more than just I'm dating couches. You know what I mean? There has to be something more here. But cool. I mean, it's weird games getting supported. Have at it.
Yeah, this is one of those, like, I put it in the same camp as like Goat Sim, where it's out there for the TikTok money and the Twitch, laughs and the gaffs and whatnot, which, like, I love that little world. Squirrel with a Gun, another example of like, what?
Yep.
Why?
Came out today.
Why do we need that? But I'm sure. Yeah, exactly. So it's like, yeah, I'll go on a date with my lamp and play Squirrel with a Gun. Let's do it. Let's get weird.
It's like the ShopRite simulator or shopping whatever, the grocery shopping simulator that was on there. I'm like, when I first looked at it, I'm like, what is this? And Kyle's like, you don't understand. This game's huge. And I'm like, I don't understand our culture anymore. We're losing it.
Yeah.
We're losing it by the day.
It's like I got offered a few months ago to review Drug Dealer Simulator 2, and I was like, I made a second one of this.
All right.
All right.
Okay.
Fentanyl edition. Okay, well, that's an interesting take.
Tetris Forever comes sometime in 2024.
Let's go. I'm so pumped. I like literally, this is my thing, man. I saw this, and a dude that I worked with 2 years ago, we used to play Tetris 99 on our lunch break, and we would just like co-op that thing on the big screen in the lunchroom. Haven't talked to him in 2 years. Send me a cold DM opener on Twitter and been like, yo, Tetris is back. And I'm like, all right, cool. Digital Eclipse immediately in. Love the history of this. I love all the different versions of Tetris. I'm totally down. And it's coming to Xbox too, so that's great.
Yeah.
I like a good Tetris. I'll mess around with it. I'll find out.
I like Tetris Effect. That was good.
Yeah.
Great
very
one.
good.
Great
Very
one.
good.
Yeah.
SpongeBob SquarePants, the Patrick Star game, is out October 4th, 2024. And now, listen, guys, I love me a good SpongeBob game, all right? I platinum battle for Bikini Bottom, and I reviewed the Cosmic Shake. I'm in on those. I saw this, and I go, what happened? How have we fallen so far? And then I saw, oh, this is an outright games game. It's not a THQ Star Wars game. I know the audience for this now, and it's not me.
Yeah. Are they between the ages of like 4 and 6? Is that who
they are? They are. That is the prime audience. Actually.
Gotcha. Figured that was the case. Yeah. You can really tell they went all out with the name. Just they were like, what should we call this SpongeBob SquarePants game that stars Patrick Star? And there was some exec that probably got paid a $75,000 bonus that said the Patrick Star game. and then they were like, green light, goodbye.
They
That
gave
was
him
it.
his own TV show. It was just called the Patrick Star Show. And I was like,
Is it really a thing like that out
yeah, I
there?
think it had like 2 seasons. It's on Paramount Plus. I see it when I go on there.
No. I haven't had
Good to
Paramount Plus
know.
since they canceled the Halo show, so
Well,
I'm good.
Good cause. Good cause.
Uh,
Great cause.
the next few I know you guys are gonna be in for. Atelier Yumiya, the Alchemist of Memories and the Envisioned Land, comes to Xbox in early 2025. This is the first ever Atelier game on Xbox. My brother's so excited.
Cool.
Happy for
The
you guys.
crowd goes mild.
This is gonna sell so many copies on Xbox. Not, but for real, I hope it works out for you.
Castlevania Dominus Collection is available right now. Pretty cool. Pretty cool if you like Castlevania. I'm good. I don't need more Castlevania.
I might give this one a look. I might give this a look.
Yeah, I've never been a big Castlevania guy. It's kind of a slow Vania for me. It feels the older ones anyway. I haven't played any of the newer stuff that's come out since then. But yeah, this is again glad it exists. Probably not for me, but I appreciate it.
Suikoden 1 and 2 HD Remaster, Gate Rune, and Dunin Unification Wars comes March 6th, 2025. I would have given these a chance, and then I played Eiyuden Chronicles, which is kind of the spiritual successor, and I was like, I don't like this game, so I'm not going to play Suikoden.
It's the first time I learned how to pronounce that word, so I appreciate your information. Yeah, I think I've been saying Suikoden for the past like 15 years. All 3 times I've had to say it.
Some people say Suikoden, and that one really gets me. Yeah. The one I'm most excited for, Tales of Grace's F Remastered, comes January 17th, 2025. One of the Tales games I haven't played. That's my favorite series in gaming, the Tales. So
that one's the Switch exclusive, from what I'm aware, right?
no, that is Trails in the Sky remake.
Take your word for it.
Which that one I am furious about if it's actually Switch exclusive. Furious.
Okay.
You know how many times I put the Dennis Reynolds meme? All right, like that's me. No one's got anything to say about that one. JRPGs. That's for
happy
me.
for you. I kind of wanted to, going back to the JD Vance jokes, I wanted to be like, yes, I too, a human, love these Trails games. I really can't wait to hold the controller with my skin and play them.
Love you guys.
Why'd you phrase it like that?
Oh no, what happened to Sam?
I'm back.
He just the StreamYard said you are not human. Get out.
Yeah, they were like, we can't have this political conversation. Get out of our streams.
We're getting a little too political now for Streamlabs. All right, guys. Well, that is all the news for this week. We only have one remaining listener question to go through, and it's for Joe. It's from TPR. He says, "Long time no see, Joe." That's right.
Hey,
It's me. TPR. What banger or slanger or dinger or even boom shaka wanger, I don't like that, of a game are you most hyped for in the next 2 years, and why is it GTA 6 and Wolverine?
2 years? Oh
yeah, that's a big time frame.
That's a big time. Anything can happen. I mean, the immediate future is Astrobot.
Mm-hmm.
Then this year can end, and that's fine. We get to the better year. In the next 2, I mean, it's not GTA. I think GTA is going to be a fine game. It's probably Ghost of Tsushima 2.
Mm-hmm.
If I were to throw a guess out there, I would say it's if I'm a betting man and a man who, will be willing to go back to church if he gets this right, I would assume the next State of Player showcase, whatever they say, we see Ghosts 2. Because every time we hear rumors of it and we don't see it, all the rumor mill folks go, I'm very surprised we haven't yet. So Ghosts 2 would be the game that I am the most excited to get my hands on.
In 2
years.
What about Bloodborne, though?
Listen. That's a PlayStation 6 game.
It's fair.
That's a PlayStation 6 game. Yeah, I've not losing faith is something.
Man,
I've lost a lot
between
of
this and
confidence
Silk
that we're gonna
Song.
see
He's
this.
broken. It's
been rough. It's been rough on them fantasy critic leagues,
Joe, you're notorious for going to studios right before they have big data leaks. Have you heard anything about what Blue Point is working on? I need info on Blue Point and what they're actually cooking over there.
Oh man, well, if Paul Tassi has taught me anything, I can say that I have seen and spoke to sources that I will not disclose. Um, I may because they may not exist. That say that whatever Blue Point's working on is going to be pretty big.
Mm.
Those sources have told me, of which I'm not privy to tell because I may or not actually have them. So
I'm making my TikTok right now after this video.
right. There you go. There you go.
According to MrBadBit of the Trophy Room, Bloodborne is getting a. Yeah.
Blue Point is working. Breaking news. Working on.
They have jobs. Wolverine's up there for me. I'm really excited for Wolverine. I say that like I love Insomniac. I haven't played the Spider-Man games, but I love Wolverine.
Okay.
Spider-Man as a character, just like he's not my favorite superhero. My brother's gonna probably message me after this and tell me to like die, but yeah, Wolverine
He's
up
gonna
there
send
for me
you the,
for sure.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks.
Yeah, he says worse things to me.
That's fair.
That's fair. Yeah, I think that over the next 2 years, I was gonna say that it's hard to predict what like your favorite game is going to be. Like my most anticipated right now is probably a toss up between like in the Xbox world, Gears of War E-Day and Doom, The Dark Ages. Cause I don't want to like speculate on when we actually get other things, but like
Doom's a good shout. Yeah.
In the realm of like, God, are you there? It's me, Sam. Like maybe the next Halo game would be really nice to see.
Yeah.
In the short term as well, I was talking about this in the XEP Discord earlier today, but like Phantom Blade Zero looks like a banger, and like that might be the game that gets me to like upgrade a PC or get a PS5. I see you got the little steel thing there from one of the events.
Luke Lore sent me this from Summer Game Fest.
Like that game
Kyle
looks
played it.
Artwork.
That game looks good, and it looks so good to the point when it was revealed, it was like, nah, that doesn't look real, and now we're getting actual gameplay, and people are like, oh, it's actually real. So I'm excited to see where that one goes, following that one closely in the short term. But yeah, I would say like Gears or Doom are probably two call outs. Honorable mention for Space Marine 2 as well, because that looks great.
Yes, dude, I can't wait. Both
Yes.
again, that and Astrobot come out the same day. It's gonna be very hard for me.
Yeah,
That said though, if it's games that have been announced, E-Day 110%. I'm
Looks
a huge
super
Gears
cool.
of War fan. Looks so amazing. Oh my god.
Yeah, Fable would be up there for me too on the Xbox side, just because Fable was like always my favorite Xbox franchise, and then they like killed it in the 360 era.
They did.
Yeah.
So hopefully it's good, but that will
here for Fable.
That will do it for Project XTalk this week, guys. Before we go, I want everyone to say where they can be found. Joe, we're going to start with you, the guest. Thank you for joining us. I had a lovely time, my friend. Hopefully see you in person soon.
Yes.
We'll see. We should talk about that. But where can people find you?
Well, listen, you can find me over at The Forbidden Place, Twitter at MrBadBit, where you could probably yell at me and tell me I'm a shill. You can find my show, The Trophy Room, a PlayStation podcast made by the players for the players, where each and every Wednesday night over at youtube.com/PS Trophy Room, me and my best friend Kyle talk about the latest, the greatest in all things PlayStation. This week we talked about the rumored PS5 Pro stuff before the world started talking about it. Isn't that crazy how those things work out? Sheer coincidence and because of my leaked source, Hank Hansen. And we talk all about Star Wars Outlaws as well. We get even deeper there. And yeah, it's just a really good episode this week. I had a lot of fun, gotten a lot of actual surprisingly positive feedback from that episode as well, because again, Outlaws has been contentious for some reason, but it was a really good time. So go check out the trophy room. We're also doing an Astrobot giveaway. Go search up at PS Trophy Room on Twitter to learn all the details of how to hook yourself up with a free copy of Astrobot Digital Deluxe version for September 4th. Yeah. So
no one plugs quite honestly, like Joe, huh?
Honestly, go follow me at Threads, Mr_Badbit. It's nice there. It's really great.
It is. I log on.
The temperature's fine.
Nobody's yelling at me.
Nobody.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Sam, my co-host, where can people find you, my friend?
Yeah, you can find me. You can find me on Threads. Obviously, I've been really enjoying the conversations we've been having over there. Good, thoughtful, deep, actual, intellectual conversations. Really enjoy that. And then, as always, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all those good things. You can come call me a shill over there, just like you can call Joe one on his platforms of choice. And obviously, we joke about the Star Wars Outlaws stuff, but nonetheless, it's still been a great week. I've been having a great time talking about games and having access to review stuff. So it's a definitely good time. More stuff cooking.
I too hope one day I can be called a shill. You can find me over at the Muffin Mon on all social media. It's a 1 to 7. I own 7A. Follow us at Save Game Media to stay up to date with all of our latest content. Until next week.